What up, y'all? Real Spill. We back. We back. We back. We back, baby. Listen, I know y'all done seen all the Katt Williams shit going on right now. Look, this is one thing. Like as we start this video, funny enough, Marshawn and I had a top 10, and we have the list. We're gonna be doing it, but we have a top 10 all-time black comedians, right? List is flames too, so y'all can go argue with yourself in the mirror if you want later on, right? We'll give that to y'all, but the sound got fucked up. So that is what it is. We're gonna redo it and give it to y'all. But we do want to go ahead and chime in on this whole Katt Williams and Shay Sharp situation and everything that he was talking about and all of that. So just initially, man, what's your thoughts on the whole thing and everything he was talking about?
Well, first and foremost, shout out and a salute to Katt Williams and Shannon Sharp for having a hell of an interview. That was something that honestly I watched twice already. I'm talking about the 2 hour and 40 something
That
because
shit was long.
it was long, but honestly, it was almost like it was Katt Williams' new special.
No, for
That's what
sure.
I looked at it as because honestly, I laughed more in his interview than I have since the Pimp Chronicles. So it was funny as hell. So it really was a
Yeah.
stand up. Nothing I was thinking of too is, man, this boy done put some energy into his next stand up. Whatever his next stand up gonna be, his official one, oh, where he going in on everybody and he was talking up more stuff. Oh my God, he gonna blow. It's gonna resurrect his career. This is really gonna
Yeah,
resurrect his.
hey, and he just had a show out here. As a matter of fact, what was that last week? Was it? I think it was last week as well. Like I got my wife and her mom and her sister. I got them tickets for Christmas, so they went to that the other day. I wanted to go, but I said, it'd be a better gift. So you know what I'm saying. The ladies went out and they
What
said
was
they
it
had a
like?
really good time.
What was it? What was the
N-
experience?
No, they said it was dope. They said he was funny and all of that. He was talking about McDonald's and something. He was talking about a whole bunch of stuff, man. But you know, I'm glad they got to go and what I'm saying, all of that. But obviously, it made sense when I seen the interview come up. I just so happened to catch it, like at that time that they did it, he was obviously already out here, and Shannon Sharp, he was in L.A., so they went ahead and linked up and did it. So that was cool.
So
At least I believe they were in L.A.
yeah. That's we in the Mecca right now. In case you didn't know out there, we do live in Southern California, not L.A., but not far away. But anyway, when it comes to the interview, what I took from it entirely was Katt Williams has a freedom to speak his mind that those other people he spoke about cannot, which at
Yeah,
least makes you come to some type of conclusion whether or not Katt Williams is exaggerating, that there is a leash on them that he does not have. Now, what that means and what the conclusion is, I don't know. But what do you take from that? What do you take from
well,
that?
you gotta think about it. I mean, as you say, there's a leash on them. It's just like us right now. Like we can, inside of the confines of whatever it is we're looking for on this channel, where whether we want to get monetized or whatever. Like there's obviously parameters, right, on what we can and can't do. And then let's say we get sponsors and everything. There might be more limits on. Hey, look, we love everything. Look, we're just asking that you don't do this or you do more of that. That's the leash that gets put on you. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that's helping Cam and Mace out as of right now is that they probably, when they negotiated a joint, they was like, nah, we're gonna literally basically be able to do what we want. But I guarantee you there's been some kind of something that they have to do, whether it's like, all right, we gotta talk about, this person, we gotta do this advertisement right here. Like, even though it's not stopping us from saying what we want to say, we gotta throw that in. Whereas normally, if they weren't a part of what we do now, we wouldn't throw it in. You see what I'm saying? So there's
Correct.
always certain leashes and things like that. And then also, as Katt Williams was talking about, like, hey, man, people gonna try to kill me and all of that. You could say, well, this is real, this is fake, this is whatever. But at the same time, there are certain things to where, it can put your safety in jeopardy. It can
But
put it can put your money safety in jeopardy too.
yeah, but at what point is when he was referring to the gatekeepers, these
Yeah,
people, let's just keep it a stack. The Steve Harveys, the Kevin Harts, the
yeah,
earthquakes. So we're not even necessarily earthquake. Really, we talking about Steve Harvey and Kevin Hart. Those are really the
right,
two gatekeepers that he's referring to. If that's the
right.
case, how many comedians are actually more talented? How much ride-alongs or Jumanjis could we have seen and got a better experience through someone who's actually more prepared and more funnier?
But you know what though? And I was thinking about this the other day, man, and it's really one of them situations where it's like, if we lived back in the times where it was like survival of the fittest, a lot of people would have perished. But we're not in that no more. Like somebody can be they can be completely better than you at something, at any given thing, right? But you just use the talents that you have and you fucking maximize everything. You know
No,
what I
no, no.
mean? Like you don't take days off, and no, no, no. But this is my point. Like you don't take days off, and so you basically outwork the other person. Now, because the other person is more talented, like naturally than you, but you're actually doing more work and putting things together better than them, you're gonna shine way more than them. Social media,
I
everything
don't.
else, right?
I don't think that's the issue. I don't think anyone has a problem with that. 'Cause what you just did, you just described Jerry Rice. So no one has an issue with someone just working hard. The correct way of trying to break that down would be I'm working or I'm good. You are not as good as me. You're not working as hard, but you just go give your virgin booty hole up to somebody. And in the process of you doing that, now you jump over me. That's the
Well,
more
listen,
way to look at it because
but
now I look at it and say, wait a minute. Not only am I working harder than this dude, I'm also better than this dude. He's decided to have no integrity and do whatever that was asked for him to get
right,
that. What I'm getting to
right.
is that taking away from some of our experiences as the viewer because these gatekeepers have to run by these rules to only let certain dudes who in. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you just gonna thinking about it? Like, for instance, think about this. Let me ask this question. They say that Kevin Hart and Katt Williams really should be switched because Kevin Hart says, Katt Williams, yeah, you were supposed to be that dude. But because you did not do what I did, per se, now I'm the guy. So here's my question. Can you see Katt Williams in the Kevin Hart roles? And if you've seen Katt Williams in those Kevin Hart roles, think of Kevin Hart roles, would it have been a better movie if it was Katt Williams other than Kevin Hart?
It's hard to tell because the movie would have changed.
I'll say
You
this
see what I'm
right
Because I'm
along.
thinking about like Jumanji, right? I'm thinking about like Jumanji came to my head first, right? And I'm like, it would have been he would have figured out how to make it funny, right? But it would have been a different movie. Like Jumanji was good. It was good, and that's all it is to it. So
I know I agree with you on Jumanji, but I will say, thinking out loud, Cat Williams in a jungle type of situation, I do think would have been funnier. Like
it
I
would.
ain't
It,
gonna. I
I
think he
think
just
it would have been funny, but it would have been different though. You see what I'm saying?
right.
It would have been different.
And
So
now
and as we talk about like gatekeeping, Jumanji is Disney, right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, this is the thing. Like we know how things go, right? Like we've had these arguments about certain players not getting into the Hall of Fame and this and that happening just based off of them doing certain things or not conforming in a certain particular way. And it's one of them things where you know what it is. Like it's not going to happen. That doesn't take away from their greatness in our eyes. But we got to think we only going to live 100 years max, right? So it's not going to be about what we remember because we gone now. It's going to be about what was written down and who's in the Hall of Fame and who's, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, these people, they know how to finesse history. They've been doing it a long time.
They
We
have,
just try to look at so we just try to look at things for like, man, nah, you know what the real is, but
but but
we
but
only know what the real is.
but like Cat Williams said, how long do you allow the liars to revise history? You know, if you revise history that really wasn't happening, like for instance, as you just stated, 100 years from now, unfortunately, Kevin Hart will be funnier than Cat Williams, unless
Right,
something happens, dramatic. But 100 years from now, they won't remember these conversations we have right now. They'll just
right,
see the blades and they'll say Kevin Hart was funnier. But
right.
isn't that revisionist history? Because I think you ask any normal person, they would naturally say Kevin Hart isn't as funny as Cat Williams.
I mean, you're right. But unless we start writing the history, or okay, so look, this is the thing. Unless we start conforming, the issue that way. This is a conversation that we have. I completely didn't think that this is the conversation. This is the way it was going to go. But
Let's go.
unless we start conforming, i.e., Kevin Hart, right, versus Katt Williams, then you're going to get left out of history as far as the spot that you should have had. They're going to listen. There's only certain spots, and these spots they will fill them with somebody. They're like, oh, you don't want to fill the spot? Cool, we got somebody else. Like
Right.
that's just how it goes, right? It's that old the Patriot way. It's funny enough, right?
So,
Next man up. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's not as good as you, but we about to make it. We about to. And no shade to Wes Welker, but Wes Welker, he wasn't the most talented receiver in the league at that time, but his numbers that he was putting up, obviously, a number of reasons, quarterback he was with, all this other stuff, but it was that Patriot way thing. Like, oh, you don't want to act right? Oh, next person, next up, watch what we do. So that's how history goes. You know what I'm saying? And we're not in control of it. So if we want to be in control of our own destiny on these lists, we got to conform. And if we
so,
don't want to be in control of our own destiny on these lists, we don't
but
conform.
I don't necessarily. I hear what you're saying, but the only reason why I would necessarily disagree with that is because if that's the case, then what you're saying is, in order to be an all-time great, you got to have a blew out booty hole. Like, and I don't want that to be the narrative that we already know and still yet have to attain because we just got to conform. I
Well,
think there are,
listen,
like, for instance, Dave Chappelle. Would you consider Dave Chappelle to be someone as a conformist? Because remember, he
look,
turned $1 million.
this is the thing. We got Dave Chappelle number one. So
Sure, for sure.
so, but I mean,
But
but
to be honest, like how you stated, I'm gonna use that same energy, which I agree with, which is 100 years from now, Katt Williams gonna be more successful than anybody. He gonna be the greatest because he gonna have all the money. He gonna have the most money. He gonna have the most success. He gonna have the most notoriety because the people that make history will crown him as that, and no one 100 years from now will be able to defy that. No one will. Everybody be dead.
bro, I mean, listen, I mean, I think one person comes to my mind as we're talking about this, right? And it's just going to be swept up in the dust with everything else, and somebody else is going to be number one. The name that's coming to my head is Barry Bonds. We've seen Barry Bonds with our own two eyes. Before the roids, he was probably the best freaking player in the league, doing everything. And then after the roids, which he never actually got popped for, he never tested positive for it.
Okay, how
Okay. Well,
you leave?
but we saw him go crazy. We saw it with our own eyes, right?
But what you gotta,
But
but hold on. Now that's a great example. But what you have to realize is, hell, we are the age we are. 15-year-olds don't even remember that. My little nephew, he don't even remember that no more. He
bro,
19. He don't remember that at all.
so this
So
is the thing. This
even from a historic standpoint, you're only really dealing with people that's around a certain age. We're talking about people around a 30-year gap. 30 years. That's the only ones from people when we was younger in high school to people that was maybe 40, 50. That 35-year gap, those are the only people that will remember that. But what will be actually 100 years from now? They ain't gonna remember that. They
that's
gonna
what I'm
remember him
saying.
as a leader
But
and
that's what I'm saying. So look,
not that good because
but
he was
look,
on.
we can have a longer conversation about something like comedians or actors or something of that nature because typically you're able to have a longer career. Sports is, strictly physical, so it's like that window is going to be that window. You can literally be a comedian until you pass like John Witherspoon. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? So that can be a lot of years of activity and while we might think like, oh well, just based on the timeline that they did it and da 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 da. Dog, if the ones that are in control, whoever that may be, don't put you on their list to pass through the next generation of history, it's gonna get washed out. Just because we can see a comedian longer than we can see an athlete, that's why we're able to hold on to it a little longer. But don't think that your ass ain't gonna get washed out like everybody else if you're not one of the ones that conform to whatever it was, and we don't want you here, you're not gonna be here. You're gonna have to go get dug up, and it's gonna be that whole oh well, Mansa Musa was actually the person that was the richest in history, but that ain't what that is what's perpetuated. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a bunch of other people that they talk about,
Well,
not him.
right, but then that leads to, which is a whole nother video in itself. What is the truth? What according to whom? What, as they say, history is written by the winners. Is
Exactly.
that making the truth?
So
You
look,
know,
all right. So listen. I got an example. So this is the thing. For fear of retribution, people will talk about shit, do shit behind closed doors, and then as soon as it's time to come out with it, people will be like, "I'm not about to. I ain't about to mess my program up." You see what I'm saying? So, for
Mhm.
instance, remember we was in high school together. Remember we was all talking about the coach, right? Wasn't he on some bullshit? Was he a
Right?
terrible coach? Wasn't he a terrible coach?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we can agree. Terrible coach, bro. You got way
I
too much talent. We got way too much talent on this team to not be wiping the floor with everybody all the time. All for all our years in high school, right?
we
Now
definitely
remember,
in our city our 4 years in high school for sure.
so remember everything came to a head. He was on some bullshit. We was losing when we wasn't supposed to be losing. All this other stuff, and all of us are talking like, yeah, man, he got it. Like this is bad. He got to go. All this other shit. So I said something to him and pissed him off. And then I ended up getting some kind of personal foul penalty or something. He said, "Oh, that's it, Hark. Let's get off the field." And remember, and I'm like, no problem, bro, because you ruined our season way before anything else. And everybody else on the team is looking like, instead of speaking up, being like, nah, we all know you on that. Everybody else like,
Well, right. Well, also remember we was all 17, some little
yeah,
young motherfuckers.
but look, adults ain't nothing but grown kids. And everybody does stuff based on the fear of what might happen.
And that's,
Most
well,
people.
right. Well, and me, for instance, since we bringing that up, we'll get back to this list in a second, but I do have to give a small nugget that a lot of people didn't realize. That senior year, I was actually academically ineligible, so I shouldn't even been playing. But I wanted to just finish.
Terrible coach. My point. My terrible coach.
And in fact, I forged the signature for to say that I passed and everything. So I got my transcript and I forged the signature. So it's a good thing ain't no other team like looked into our records because they would have actually all those games would have got forfeited because I should have been playing.
Crazy.
but
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 uh,
you But you
anywho,
do understand what I'm saying, though. But because you like, oh shit, I don't want no extra pressure. I don't want no extra eyeballs on my situation. So I ain't saying nothing.
right. So which leads to why, at least from my standpoint, when you went through what you went through, I was like, shit, let me just sit up in this motherfucking corner and look up in the sky and whistle. I don't know what the hell going on.
But
So,
see, I'm that person. First, I'm Katt Williams.
and
Everybody else
speaking
sitting there like, damn.
and speaking of Katt Williams, let's segue. That's a perfect thing. Let's segue into this list. Because the list is the list. Now, I gave you a whole lot of bite back on the list in certain rankings. It really wasn't the people, it was the rankings. So let me just, kind of give a little segue and go through the list entirely. So number 10, Bernie Mac. Number
Ernie,
9, Martin.
I ain't scared of you, motherfucker.
Number 8, Eddie Griffin. Number 7, Mike Epps. Number 6, the man of the hour that we talked about is Katt Williams. Number 5, we got Chris Rock. 4, we got Kevin Hart. 3, Eddie. 2, Richard Pryor. Number 1, Dave Chappelle.
And
Now,
you guys keep in mind, this is all time. So before you go, Marshawn, look,
but
before y'all jump on your soapbox, start talking about this person funny and all that. What about this is all time? So for one, if you on this list, you one of them ones.
right
You one of
now,
them ones.
let me say, there are some things that I had some arguments with Hero about, but the points that he brought up were valid. So, regardless of my personal feelings, because of the validity of the points, I decided that, I'll put my name behind it too, and this will be our list. So let me first say what I did not agree on, which was a argument in itself between us to where we even had to get other people involved, which is I personally don't believe Martin Lawrence is the ninth best comedian of all time. Now, where Hero did bring up a good point is what he did at Def Jam. I mean, what the man did at Def Jam,
That comedy
I
jam.
that time when he did it, I don't think anyone else could have been that hot. So based on that, and he did that for about a year or two. Was it about a year or two when he did that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that.
I got to give him the nod at 9, which initially I did not agree with. So yes, I give Hero that. And then lastly, before I hand it back to you, Kevin Hart. Now he is a hot topic right now. We got him at 4 on the list. I don't think he's 4. I think he's a little back, more like 7 or 8. But as Hero brought up, the success, man. How can you knock the success, whether or not it is through Illuminati or it is through him just simply working hard and being who he is? His success, you just can't challenge it, man. So we had to
You
put him at
can't.
4.
You can't. And look, this is the thing. So, we were talking about this before. So, while Kevin Hart might not be like my first choice, you know what I'm saying, to turn something on, I know for a fact that if I turn on a Kevin Hart special, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be. I haven't seen one that he's had that was like, damn, he dropped the ball on that. I have not seen it, and I don't think I'll ever see it. And it can be for whatever reason, but they're always good. So that's another reason why like he's number 4, because shit, he does good work. We can say he ain't the funniest and all that. Nah, he's gonna give you your money's worth every single time. So I mean, again, we talking all times. We talking about splitting the hairs when we talking about everybody on this list. Everybody's majorly accomplished in their own right. A lot of these
Now,
people have
is
come through the same avenues too, through the same channel.
the list that you don't initially feel, or at least initially you was like, I don't think this person is the top 10?
You said, is there anybody on the list?
Yeah, initially you wasn't feeling.
Um, being on the list, man, when you start talking about like Eddie Griffin, that was one. That was probably one name that I was like, yeah. And then, Mike Epps, and even as we talked about Bernie, right? It wasn't, I didn't think that they were good enough for the list. It's just you have to, like, we combed through people. You know what I'm saying? We didn't just throw a list together randomly. Like we start throwing in all the names that we know, the people that we've heard, like everything else, and like narrowly like, oh yeah, no, move that one out here, move that one, no, he got to stay around. Like, oh, what about this one versus this one? Yeah, bring him on, keep him on. Again, we talking about all time, so there's been a lot of comedians, a lot of material, a lot of years worth of works, hell, lifetimes of work. As a matter of fact, because like I mentioned before, a person I mentioned, John Witherspoon, we don't have him on this list, right? But again, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, does he beat out Bernie Mac? I don't think anybody will say that he beats out Bernie Mac. We love
No.
John Witherspoon, right? I wouldn't say anybody would say that he beats out Martin Lawrence. I mean, you know what I mean? Just because, again, another conversation that we had is like there's stand-up comedian or stand-up comedy, then there's comedic success. Another list that we got coming, right? And based off of Martin's name, it's hard to not put him on lists. So you got to kind of really like dial in and take a look at like, all right, bro, what did you do in this category? Like his stand up, I would say comedic success, Martin is higher than 9. I would say just off the top of my head. I don't think we got him on the list because of, money, success, money, all of that. But as Katt Williams talked about, that list, that should be wrong. You know what I mean? The net worth thing be wrong, right?
Right.
But
Which
but
which
you
is what
know,
I agree with. I definitely agree. I mean, if you don't have your money in certain areas, they're not gonna count it. So, especially a dude like Cat Williams, as he stated, which I think really is undermined and not talked about enough, which is he does these tours and sells out these arenas by himself. He's not going through sponsorship. He's not going through. He's finding out the venue. He's talking to the promoter. He getting out the promotion of the actual event. All that's done
Right.
by his people. So
Right.
you really don't see much of that. So that's kudos to Katt Williams when it comes to that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
it's just one of them things.
let's officially go through the list right now. I'm ready to go. We've been talking
All
about these
right.
characters over and over again. I say we had a nice good 25 minutes or so. We're talking about the list, breaking it down a little bit. And yeah, you ready to do this?
All right. So what we're gonna do,
You ready?
y'all, just cause look, we're it's a two-man army over here, you know what I'm saying? And we gotta handle all the back end stuff and everything else. We're gonna go ahead and cut this, you know what I mean? Thank you guys for tuning in on this part. Make sure you check out the official top 10 black comedians of all time that we got. It's gonna be a short video, but it's just gonna put it out there. Make sure y'all comment, like all that good stuff on it. And let's just see what y'all got. Maybe we missed something. I doubt it though. All right. So we out of here. Peace out.